There is a soft hush in the soul of the divine feminine, a sacred quiet that holds many mysteries, dreams, longings, and wounds. She carries an ancient knowing, one that is written not in books but in the heart. Her journey is a path of remembering, of uncovering the truth that she was never really lost, only hidden beneath layers of pain, doubt, and illusion. In the sacred dance of twin flames, the divine feminine plays a profound role. She is the intuitive heart of the union, the vessel of surrender, the silent keeper of unconditional love. Yet even as she shines with the light of divine wisdom and embodies the spirit of sacred love, she is not untouched by fear. Deep within her, beneath the strength, compassion, and grace, lies one central fear that seems to echo across all expressions of her being, the fear of abandonment. Not just physical abandonment, but emotional, spiritual, and energetic. The fear that her love will not be returned, that she will give her all and still be left behind, that her longing will never be fulfilled, that her sacred union is an illusion. This fear, raw, hidden, and often unspoken, lies at the heart of her suffering, but it also holds the key to her liberation. Because it is through confronting this fear that she finds her deepest strength, reclaims her power, and remembers who she truly is. Today, we will explore this fear with honesty and gentleness. We will not run from it. We will walk through it together, so that by the end, you may find not only peace, but empowerment. What lies on the other side of fear is not just healing, but transformation. The fear of abandonment within the divine feminine does not begin with the twin flame connection. It begins long before, across lifetimes, across generations, and deep within the earliest memories of this incarnation. From a young age, the divine feminine learns to associate love with loss. Her tenderness is often misunderstood, her sensitivity mistaken for weakness, her deep capacity to feel left unsupported. Whether through family dynamics, early heartbreaks, or even collective conditioning, she internalizes a belief that love is not stable, that the moment she opens fully, it will be taken from her. This fear is passed down energetically, embedded in the feminine collective. It is reinforced by a world that has, for centuries, silenced the voice of the intuitive heart. The divine feminine has watched herself be dismissed, ignored, and even punished for her truth. This leaves a deep imprint on her soul. And when the twin flame arrives, when this other half of her being appears, the very intensity of the connection stirs every old wound to the surface. The connection feels eternal, magnetic, undeniable. And yet, just as suddenly, it feels like it could be lost. Perhaps he pulls away. Perhaps he runs. Perhaps he shuts down. And so the fear rushes in. Will I be abandoned again? She doesn't just fear losing him, she fears losing herself in the process. To understand this fear is to go to its roots, not just to the circumstances of the current relationship, but to the inner child who was never seen, to the soul who remembers lifetimes of waiting, to the feminine essence who has been asked to give without receiving. This fear is not weakness, it is a cry for healing. It is the voice of the parts of her that have been left behind, asking to come home. To begin healing this, the divine feminine must reconnect with these lost parts. She must sit with her inner child, speak to her, and allow her to be held. She must honor the sadness, not push it away. Journaling can be a powerful tool here. Ask yourself, where do I feel unseen? When did I first feel unloved? Let the answers rise. The truth is not always loud. It is often a whisper. But when you listen closely, you will start to see that this fear is not the enemy. It is the gateway. When the fear of abandonment begins to surface, the divine feminine often tries to control what she cannot bear to lose. This doesn't always look like force. It can be subtle. Overgiving, over-explaining, trying to fix the masculine, trying to speed up the connection, reading signs endlessly to gain reassurance. These are all ways to try and stay close, to prevent the pain of being left. But here's the truth. The more she clings, the more distant the union feels. Control creates resistance, because love, true divine love, cannot be forced. It flows, it expands, it breathes. The more the divine feminine tries to manage the connection, the more she loses touch with her own center. And this, too, fuels the fear. Why is he pulling away? What did I do wrong? But this isn't about what she did. It's about what she's afraid to feel. Control is a shield. It gives the illusion of safety, but it actually disconnects her from her inner truth. She might believe that if she just does everything right, she won't be abandoned. But this belief keeps her stuck in a pattern of self-denial. Because the real safety she seeks does not come from the masculine, it comes from her own wholeness. To release the need for control, she must begin to trust life again. This is one of the most difficult steps on the twin flame journey. Trusting not the timeline, not the outcome, but trusting herself. Trusting that whatever is happening, it is not a punishment, but a passage. That even if the masculine retreats, her soul is not collapsing, it is expanding. Her worth is not measured by his actions. Her divinity is not shaken by his silence. One way to release control is through conscious surrender. This doesn't mean giving up, it means letting go. Spend time each day simply sitting with your heart. Breathe deeply, hand over your worries to the universe. Speak them aloud if you need to. I surrender the need to control. I trust in divine timing. I trust in my own love. Over time, this creates an inner space of calm. And in this space, the fear begins to loosen its grip. One of the most difficult aspects of the twin flame journey is realizing that the masculine often reflects back to the feminine what she fears the most. If she fears abandonment, she may find him pulling away. If she fears silence, he may become quiet. If she fears rejection, he may seem distant. This is not to hurt her, it is to awaken her. The twin flame mirror is not always gentle. It is raw, truthful, sometimes even painful. But its purpose is not to punish, it is to reflect. When the masculine runs, he is not just running from her, he is running from himself. His own wounds, his own shadows, but in doing so, he triggers hers, and the spiral begins. The divine feminine often believes she must wait for him to return. But waiting, in this case, is not passive. It is an inner journey. It is time to look at what is being reflected. Why does this trigger me? What does it bring up within me? Where am I abandoning myself? This is the heart of the lesson. The masculine's retreat is a call inward, not toward despair, but toward reclamation. The feminine is being asked to turn her gaze away from the external and toward the internal, to recognize that the real abandonment would be abandoning herself in pursuit of his presence. When she begins to heal this within, something shifts. Her energy changes. She becomes magnetic, not because she is trying to be, but because she is aligned. The masculine begins to feel this. Energetically, he senses her rising, and slowly the dynamics shift. This is not a guarantee of immediate union, but it is the foundation of it. Because twin flames do not come together through force, they come together through wholeness. The masculine mirror will continue to reflect until the feminine has found her center, and once she does, she realizes something profound. She no longer fears abandonment, because she no longer abandons herself. There comes a point on the twin flame path where the divine feminine must stop searching outside of herself for security. This is the moment she reclaims her power, not in rebellion, not in anger, but in love. Love for her soul, her journey, and her deep inner knowing. Self-reliance is not isolation. It is sovereignty. It is knowing that your soul is whole, regardless of who stands beside you. It is living from the heart without attachment to outcome. It is dancing in the mystery without demanding certainty. It is breathing deeply even in the unknown. The divine feminine does not stop loving the masculine. Her love does not shrink. In fact, it expands. But it no longer comes from fear. She no longer loves him in hopes he will stay. She loves him because it is her nature to love. She no longer waits to be chosen. She chooses herself again and again. And from that place, all things flow. This inner stability is magnetic. It creates harmony within and without. It opens the space for union, not by chasing, but by becoming, by embodying the truth that she is never alone, that spirit walks beside her, that her love is eternal and cannot be lost. To cultivate this, she must tend to herself daily, not as a chore, but as devotion. Waking up each morning and choosing presence, moving her body to release energy, speaking to her soul in stillness, saying no to what drains her, saying yes to what nourishes her. Sacred self-reliance is the heart of feminine empowerment. It does not reject the masculine, it honors him. But it no longer places her happiness in his hands. She becomes the guardian of her own joy, the keeper of her own flame. And in doing so, she becomes the very love she once sought outside. The fear of abandonment is closely tied to the illusion of separation. This illusion is the belief that we can be truly disconnected from the ones we love, especially our twin flame. It convinces us that when the physical presence of our twin is gone, the bond itself is broken, that the connection has ended, that we have been left behind. But this is not the truth. The twin flame connection is not built on the physical. It is spiritual. It is soul deep. And because it is rooted in divine energy, it cannot be lost. What happens, though, is that we forget this deeper truth, especially when the pain feels sharp. We look around and see no sign of the masculine, no words, no actions, no gestures. And so we assume the connection has ended. The mind begins to tell stories of loss. The heart begins to grieve something that was never truly gone. The world teaches us to believe only what we can see, so we overlook what can only be felt with the soul. The divine feminine begins to heal when she stops believing that physical distance means separation. When she shifts her focus away from what is happening outside of her and turns inward. There, within the quiet of her soul, she can feel what still lives. She can sense the presence of her twin, not as a person walking beside her, but as an energy that has always been with her. She begins to see that the connection is not breaking. It is deepening in a new way. The space between them is not empty. It is full of purpose. It is a container where growth happens, where transformation begins. It is like a sacred womb that holds the energy of what is becoming. The masculine is not gone. He is growing, healing, changing, and so is she. What feels like separation is actually preparation for something greater, something more balanced, more whole. When this understanding settles into the heart, a great shift happens. The fear starts to melt. The divine feminine moves from needing answers to allowing the unknown. She no longer sees this time as a punishment, but as part of her spiritual evolution. She stops asking when he will return and instead asks herself how she can show up more fully for her soul. To help this shift, spiritual practices become important. These are not meant to escape the pain, but to connect deeper with truth. Sitting in silence each day and breathing deeply allows the nervous system to calm. Meditating with the intention of connecting to the soul-level bond helps clear the fog of illusion. Holding crystals, journaling, praying, or simply walking in nature can all bring the feminine back to the energy of love. And in that love, she feels her twin, always present, always connected. Living beyond the illusion does not mean ignoring your emotions. The divine feminine still feels the ache, the sadness, the longing, but she does not let these feelings define her. She does not let them shape her reality. She learns to hold both the sorrow and the sacredness at the same time, to be human and divine fully and honestly. She remembers that love is not something that disappears. It is energy. And energy transforms? It doesn't die. Even when the form changes, the essence stays. And that is what she begins to trust, that what is meant for her is already written, that her connection is not fragile, it is eternal. When she lives from this truth, everything changes. She walks with grace, she speaks with love, she breathes in peace, not because all the answers have arrived, but because she has let go of needing them. She trusts the mystery, she follows her soul. And from this place of deep surrender, miracles are drawn to her, not forced, not chased, but received. The fear that the divine feminine holds is not something to be ashamed of. It is not a weakness, and it is not a mistake. It is a doorway, a sacred threshold that invites her to go deeper, into herself, into her truth, into the heart of what she is here to remember. She doesn't need to fix the fear. She doesn't need to run from it or bury it. She only needs to feel it. To honor the parts of her that are still hurting, the little girl within who never felt safe, the past versions of herself who gave and never felt seen. All of these parts want to be held, not avoided. Healing is not about becoming someone new. It is about remembering who you already are beneath all the layers. The divine feminine was never broken. She was never lost. She has always been whole. But the journey allows her to reclaim that truth through experience, through learning, through rising. So if you are in a moment where the fear feels heavy, where the silence feels sharp, where the pain feels too much, pause, breathe, and remind yourself, this is part of the path. You are not lost. You are not being punished. You are being shaped. You are being softened. You are being guided back to yourself. Every tear you've cried is sacred. Every sleepless night, every moment of doubt, every question you've asked, it all matters. It is all part of your awakening. You are shedding what is no longer true so that what is real can rise. Your fear is not the end of the story, it is the beginning of your power. You are the divine feminine. You are the heartbeat of love. You carry the flame of truth in your soul. Even when the world goes quiet, your light does not go out. Even when the path twists, your spirit does not break. You are rising, not in a rush, not in force, but in steady, graceful truth. Let that be your reminder when things feel uncertain. Let it be your strength when your heart wavers. You are rising. And with every breath, you are coming home, to yourself, to your soul, to the love that never left. Let that be your prayer. Let that be your anchor. Let that be the truth you live by.